All right, 49ers update here from the facility where Jason Verrett is officially back. I just saw him out on the practice field. Now, Verrett, remember he wore number 22 initially with the 49ers when he signed with them back in 2019. And then when they started allowing single-digit numbers for all players outside of the two lines, offensive and defensive fronts, then Jason Verrett put on the number 2, 2021 and then 2022. But we only saw him play one game in the number 2. Verrett is back to wearing number 22 because Deommodore Lenoir already has 2. So practice update as far as the injuries go. No Eric Armstead. That was expected. They think he's going to be out at least another week with the foot and the knee issue. Javon Hargrave was not out there. The hamstring injury, obviously, Kyle Shanahan already said that they would evaluate him a little bit later in the week to see if he has a chance against Arizona. Same thing with Charvarius Ward and his groin injury, although I did see Mooney Ward on the side field, and he seemed to be moving well in some of those agility drills. So not practicing, but Mooney Ward might be ahead of Javon Hargrave as far as a potential return this weekend. Dre Greenlaw not out of practice with a hip injury. Spencer Burford, that knee injury that kept him out last week, still keeping him out of practice, but Burford was in his jersey and in a helmet along with extra padding that linemen have to wear, and he was working off on the side right near Charvarius Ward. Oren Burks, 49ers expect their linebacker to miss a couple weeks with knee tendonitis. He was not out at practice. Back at practice, Elijah Mitchell, the running back, coming back from a knee issue. He was technically a limited participant, looked fine to me, and a full participant, Darrell Luter Jr., coming back from a hamstring, missed a week, but Luter's going to be back to fortify the 49ers secondary, as is Jason Verrett. In the locker room today, it was interesting because the locker next to Nick Bosa's had been empty for a couple months. That used to be the long snapper's locker, Tabor Pepper's locker. But when Robbie Gould left or didn't re-sign, and obviously he retired a few days ago, Robbie Gould's locker was vacated, so Tabor Pepper moved over into the corner where Robbie Gould was. That left an empty one next to Nick Bosa, and Bosa had used it as overflow for a couple months. Well, finally, they found a worthy recipient for the previously empty locker next to Nick Bosa's, and that is the veteran Jason Verrett. And Bosa was so complimentary. He told me that he told Jason Verrett yesterday that Verrett has inspired him and has inspired the 49ers team. Remember, Jason Verrett has suffered 5 season-ending injuries, including 2 ACLs and 2 Achilles tears. The Achilles tear happened at practice here last season, and he's still back for more at age 32. The amount of mental fortitude that it's taken for Jason Verrett to come back from all these injuries and still show enough on tape, show enough during some of these practices and the stint with the Houston Texans, who have the 49ers coaching staff, it's truly, truly impressive, to the point where when Verrett first worked out with the 49ers a couple months ago, about 7 players watched his workout, and Kyle Shanahan says that he's never seen anything like that before. Verrett today said that he was always meant to be in San Francisco with the 49ers. That's where his heart was. So to me, that was confirmation that he signed with the Texans practice squad for about a month just to get reps. And he even said that. He just, the main thing was to get reps in Houston under a coaching staff with D'Amico Ryans and Corey Undlin, who used to be his DB coach here with the 49ers, under a coaching staff who he's familiar with, who did stuff, probably similarly to how the 49ers do things, even though Steve Wilks is the new defensive coordinator here. Then Verrett was released from that practice squad. It's unclear whether or not he asked for his release, but that wouldn't shock me. And he signed on with the 49ers after another good workout with them. Now, it took a few extra weeks. Verrett wouldn't talk about that today. He said he's just happy that things worked out the way that they worked out. But my guess is that he's on the practice squad technically. My guess is that he was holding out to see if he could get a 53-man roster spot, because that would pay a lot more. The 53-man roster pays per year, if you're on the minimum contract, about $1.1 million for a veteran, and the practice squad is about $250,000 if you're a veteran. Verrett's not going to make all that money. It's divide that by 18 because there are 18 weeks in the season, but still it would be a 4x salary over the practice squad if you were on the 53. But you can't wait too long. The 49ers didn't have any serious injuries at that cornerback position to justify offering a 53-man spot to Jason Verrett. So they went ahead and gave him the practice squad spot, and he still will have a chance to contribute from here. He's such a revered member in the locker room. Deommodore Lenoir said that he's been a big brother to him and Ambry Thomas ever since they came into the league as draftees back in 2021. Verrett has a relationship with so many of these guys outside of the locker room. He's been checking in on them, giving them tips, and now he can do more of that in the meeting room. I think Deommodore Lenoir even called him an open book in the 49ers meeting room. So this can only help the 49ers from a locker room perspective, and obviously you can call Jason Verrett up to twice from the practice squad before you'd have to sign into the 53-man roster if you want to play him on Sundays. And I thought he was moving well at practice. I was just out there right now. 49ers play the Cardinals this weekend. They are 13.5-point favorites. A lot of talk today about how they don't want to take Arizona lightly. Kyle Shanahan compared how Arizona's playing now. They started 1-8 and been 2-2 over the course of their past 4 games ever since Kyler Murray returned, compared to the 2017 49ers, who started 0-9 and then finished 6-10, went 5-0 to close the year. They added Jimmy Garoppolo, the 49ers did that year. That obviously helped them a ton. Well, this Arizona team has added Kyler Murray over the past 4 games. He's not playing great football, though. Number 25 in efficiency this year, and the defense is terrible. The defense might be playing a little bit better than before because Budda Baker has returned. He didn't face Brock Purdy in Week 4, but remember, Purdy in Week 4 completed 95% of his passes. It was a 49ers franchise record. He was 21 of 22. The 49ers won 35-16. And, even though the 49ers have this list of injuries on defense, even if they do decide to rest some of these star players and they're not available, somebody like Eric Armstead, Javon Hargrave, Arizona moved the ball a little bit against them last time. I just think that the Cardinals don't have the defensive firepower to keep the 49ers under 30 points, and that really is the main key at play here. Kyle Shanahan today, speaking of Brock Purdy, talked about, you could go check out the press conference from Kyle Shanahan and check out the Lenoir and the Verrett press conferences as well. Have those up. But Kyle Shanahan today talked about just the impressive fashion through which Brock Purdy operates through his progressions, and I thought he went into a lot of detail that you don't hear from most NFL coaches, but Kyle Shanahan is happy to give it. I spoke to Jair Brown today, 49ers safety, 5th in NFL coverage grade among safeties ever since he took over a couple weeks ago. You can tell that the work that he was doing behind the scenes before he started, just absorbing material from Tashawn Gibson, has really helped Jair Brown step in seamlessly. The tackling has already improved. We talked a little bit about that. Just be ready for me to delve more into how that whole transition went, because I think it's big for the 49ers. And then speaking of Deommodore Lenoir, he talked about his ejection. Demo actually called Kyle Shanahan on Sunday night after he got tossed for defending Fred Warner, and he apologized to Kyle Shanahan for getting ejected. That's a really nice sign of maturity. The coaching staff didn't have to reach out to Lenoir. It was the other way around. Finally, somebody asked Deebo Samuel about Cam Newton's comments that Brock Purdy is just a system quarterback or whatever the hell Cam Newton said. Somebody asked Deebo Samuel for his reaction, and Deebo said, no comment, and just turned away. Tells you everything that you need to know about what Deebo Samuel thinks about that, about his quarterback being called a game manager. Brock Purdy obviously isn't anybody that's deserving of pejorative treatment. He is the best quarterback in the NFL this season, and I think he's on his way to winning the MVP. But he's got to put in a solid final statement, because you know how that voting goes. All right, that's today's 49ers update. Stay tuned for more a little bit later today.